So why are you here today, Richard?
I'm here to support our brilliant candidate, Ross Lammy, for this MSP by-election on June the 5th. And yeah, we're getting a great response, and we're campaigning to win. Got to win. It's a two-horse race between the SNP and Reform UK, and we're surprising everybody.
And how are you I gather you were out in Lanarkshire this morning. How are you guys being received on the doors?
Very well, it was brilliant. I mean, we had teams of people starting to go out on the doors, but just on the high street, the hoots, the cheering, cars going by, shouting, something's happening out there, and it is remarkable, and it's terrifying. The SNP, it's terrifying Labour, and the Tories have given up and gone home.
You say it's a two-horse race between yourself and the SNP. What leads you to that conclusion? Because this is still Labour heartland.
Well, it was a Labour heartland, but I think just the response we're getting, the interest, the noise, the polls, our internal polling, everything says that, yes, of course, if you go to the bookies, they'll tell you that SNP is odds on. But in politics, you fight to win at the ballot box, and that's what we're doing. And we showed in Runcorn and Helsby a couple of weeks back, against the odds, in a rock-solid Labour seat, we won.
And what does a good showing look like for Reform in this by-election, do you think?
Winning.
Just winning, number one.
Winning. We like to win. We're winning at the moment. Look, now of course, it's not easy. I'm not under any illusion, but the team are doing brilliantly, and no one thought 2 months ago that we would be where we are today. Nobody thought. I think even our opponents would say we're running a very hard-working, sophisticated campaign, and that's the nature of competition. Not afraid of that, so we'll just push on. But I think it's a two-horse race. That's what we'll show. And if that's the case, then people will say, okay, what does that mean for Holyrood next May? And if people project the growth we've had in the last 12 months over the next 12 months, you get to a very interesting place.
Mm-hmm. And how interesting is interesting, do you think? How good can it be for Reform next year?
Yeah, look, I mean, it again, I think it'll be a two-horse race, and the Labour vote will be squeezed by the complete failures of Keir Starmer, and you've got a situation now where a poll out here in Scotland that Nigel Farage is more popular in Scotland than Keir Starmer. If I'd said that to you 6 or 12 months ago, I mean, you'd have looked at me as though I'd walked off Mars.
And you said that it's a two-horse race. Do you think it's also a two-horse race next year? Do you think that you guys are building towards being just between yourselves and the SNP?
Yeah, that's what we're building towards, and yeah, could we screw it up? Yes. But we will work hard and push on, absolutely. And broadly in life, you make your own luck. So that's our job, and we're just going to... And I think what we're really excited about is, good Scottish voters will say, well, who are you guys? What can you do? So if we can prove that we're running the 10 councils in England that we've just won control of, and we're starting to save money and deliver better services for constituents across those councils, and even just in a couple of weeks. In one council, I was with the leaders last night, one has identified almost £1 million worth of savings from unnecessary job roles in a couple of weeks. Another's put hold on a ridiculous £20 million capital spend scheme. This is serious cash, and it's taxpayers' cash. So if we can deliver there and say to people, actually, give us the chance to run things in Scotland, you may be very surprised by what happens.
Could we see a Reform First Minister in that case?
Well, absolutely. Let's be bullish. Let's be optimistic. You have to be an optimist in politics.
And I spoke to Nicola Sturgeon this morning. She was doing a visit on the other side of the constituency.
Lucky you.
And she said that the UK government is aping reform on immigration in the wake of Keir Starmer's speech on Monday. Do you think that's true?
Yes, I think Keir Starmer's learning from reform that actually immigration is the number one concern to the British people, including the Scottish people. And if you look at the issue of the boats, people are sick and tired of the unfairness of tens of thousands of young men who are not fleeing war. They are economic opportunists. They are coming to abuse our hospitality, and people think it's unfair, and it's taking our hotels, it's destroying jobs, it's taking our housing, they're then working illegally, and it's got to stop. And so That's concerning people. And then look, we believe in smart legal immigration. It's what I call a sort of one in, one out, highly skilled, highly qualified, and that's, I think, how things can and should work in Scotland as it should work elsewhere in the UK. But at the moment it's not. And the role of the Scottish Government is to make the Scottish people better off, both financially and also in terms of from a health care perspective and from an education perspective. And the SNP have patently failed to do that.
And it seems to be that a lot of your opponents in this race in particular are talking about, they spend a lot of time talking about reform to begin with, but they also talk about...
Shows they're terrified.
They also talk about the threat of reform. What do you make of that?
Aren't I big and scary and nasty? I'm just a property guy. Look, politically we are a threat, but competition's a good thing. If that forces them to discuss things that are important to the Scottish people that they didn't want to talk about. You see, Nicola, bless her, she didn't want to talk about immigration, so she would try and smear anybody that wanted to talk about it as a bigot and a racist and a bad person. No, actually, smart immigration that works for everybody, where people integrate, they work, and they learn the lingo, great, we're all up for that, but it's got to be numbers that work. If it suppresses wages and puts Scottish people out of work, that's not a good thing. And if you've got unemployment in Scotland double the national average, I think, give or take, and if you've got education that's gone so far down the PISA tables that they've stopped reporting to PISA, then maybe you need to focus on your own delivery of doing your job properly.
But when we're talking about immigration, the needs in Scotland are different to the needs in the rest of the UK. We have an ageing population that's ageing faster in Scotland than it is in the rest of the UK. We also, in terms of public attitudes, the public attitude towards immigration is much more positive in Scotland than it is in the rest of the UK. Do you think that your message is going to be able to land when it comes to an actual election with rhetoric about immigration in this way, given what we know about Scotland?
Literally, the council election on Thursday in Clydebank, the fact that we came second, the fact that we're polling second here, the fact that Nigel's more popular than the Prime Minister in Scotland proves that actually your assumption that people don't want to talk about immigration in Scotland, they do. They want honesty amongst politicians. How is it going to help me in my life, in my family, in my community? How is it going to help us be better off? Now, of course, there may be specific demographic issues, if that is genuinely the case. But if you're saying, well, why is unemployment in Scotland double the national average? Why have we got so many people who are healthy but are on benefits? And we've got to have that debate. I want a world-leading benefit system that protects the genuinely disabled, the genuinely vulnerable, and the genuinely unemployed seeking work. I don't want to basically provide a cushy lifestyle choice for a bunch of idlers who don't want to get up and go to work. That's not fair on those who do get up and go to work. And here's the point. Work is a good thing. It's a great thing.
Just ahead of next year's election, obviously, we don't know a great deal of detail about the reform offering. So ahead of that election, what's going to be one big reform policy, your sort of leading policy in next year's election?
Drill, Scotland, drill. Let's use the oil and gas treasure. Let's issue more licenses. Let's encourage investment offshore and onshore. And because we've got all this energy treasure and we should use it. It's ours. And that's the way to creating highly skilled, highly paid jobs. We know it works because it made Aberdeen and Scotland wealthy in the 80s and 90s. And then I nearly swore. And then the Scottish politicians came up with net stupid zero, and it's been an absolute catastrophe. Look at the destruction of the jobs at Grangemouth, for example, the whole chemicals industry. Look at the destruction of oil and gas jobs in and around Aberdeen and further afield in Scotland. People know, and that's why we're polling so well, because people know what works. It's basic common sense.
But oil and gas is not a devolved matter. So the Scottish Government can effectively say what it wants about oil and gas. It doesn't amount to very much if the UK Government disagrees. So are you going to run on drilling in oil and gas next year, even though the Scottish Government doesn't
Absolutely,
have
because people know that if we do well in Scotland, it'll terrify Labour, it'll terrify the SNP, it'll terrify all the eco-zealots, and then when we win, the people of Scotland have the opportunity to send a message to Westminster, we want oil, we want gas, we want more money in our pockets, we want a better health system, and these guys have got the right answers. So yeah, absolutely. It's a journey. It's not instant overnight, but the whole point of democracy and voting is you send a clear message to the people in power at the different levels.
But I asked for a big policy going into the next election, and it appears that your suggestion is something that is not within the gift of the Scottish Parliament. But what are you going to do? Like, people would quite rightly say, well, why bother with that? Because there is effectively no point in voting for you based on net zero.
Because already, because that will terrify Labour in London to start to change their thinking about net stupid zero. And the sooner they fire Ed Miliband and change course on this, then absolutely it can have a massive difference. Oh, and the other one, by the way, our policy is there are only two sexes, male and female, and we shouldn't be teaching gender claptrap to our children in schools. And do you know what? When we campaign in rallies and events, that gets the biggest round of applause.
So oil and gas and gender issues.
Yeah.
When can we expect there to be a leader appointed in Scotland?
Yeah, I know people are very excited about this in due course, but actually let's just focus on keep working hard at the moment. The moment we elect a leader, you're going to start jumping up and down and say, oh, there's a little gap of difference between X and Y. It just focus on actually what's going to deliver for the Scottish people. That's what we're energised by, and all of that will happen in good time. Patience is a virtue. So yeah, it'll happen, it'll evolve, but at the moment it's not actually about personalities, it's about policy and conviction and hard work.
But you guys haven't announced very much policy, so it's not really...
I've just given you two critical policies that will make a significant difference to the Scottish people. Oil and gas extraction and lower bills and lower cost of living will help everybody in Scotland. Teaching our children basic biological reality that there's only boys and girls and you can't choose on a Monday and swap on a Friday is also very important to the Scottish people.
And just finally, because I know that I've taken up quite a bit of your time, but this week Rupert Lowe described your party as a cult. Is it?
Maybe we're a cult of common sense.